Hello, it's Patrick from Shift 4. Today we'll be doing a deep dive into transaction types with a focus on capture and authorization so you can improve your business and save money. Watch this video to learn more. Let's start with an overview of one-phase transactions, which we call sales. With a one-phase transaction, a merchant authorizes, verifies, and captures everything at once. The customer is on the website, they want to buy a product or a service that the merchant provides. So they put in the card data, they pay, and the product is delivered. Yet from the merchant perspective, the process looks a little different. The customer is on the website, a merchant receives a payment request, the transaction goes through, and the product is delivered. It sounds simple, but one-phase transactions can cause issues for merchants. Say, for example, a transaction goes through, and a few seconds later, the merchant receives a fraud score saying that the transaction was fraudulent. Since the charge was already processed via a one-phase transaction, also known as a sale, they'll need to issue a refund, which can be costly. Additionally, because it was fraudulent, the fraudster that submitted the order will likely submit a chargeback in a few days. In this example, the one-phase transaction gives the merchant no time to verify, makes them vulnerable to chargebacks, and costs them refunds. Now that you understand some of the risks associated with one-phase transactions, let's talk about the two-phase approach, also known as authorization and capture, which provides a bit more protection for merchants. With two-phase transactions, authorization occurs first, and then verification, and capturing of funds occurs at a later time. Here's a look at how the process works. The customer again is on the website. The merchant receives a payment request. Authorization happens. The funds are blocked on the customer's bank account, but no money goes through. The merchant then verifies the customer and reviews the fraud score, which takes up to 7 days. Capture of funds occurs, and the product is delivered. With this transaction flow, the merchant has time to verify the customer while the funds are secured. No chargeback is possible until after capture, so the merchant can choose a free refund if they decide not to move forward with the transaction. In most cases, this is automated and lasts up to 3 minutes. Using Shift 4's API, the verification process to determine if a transaction should move forward based on the fraud score can be handled automatically. Here's how it works. When a card is authorized, the merchant receives a fraud score within a few seconds. And based on this fraud score, the system decides for the merchant if the transaction should move forward to the final capture phase. Here is a breakdown of how the system makes this determination. When we have a fraud score of 70, the transaction is deemed fraudulent and the system will automatically issue a refund without processing the customer's payments. Fraud score of 50, the merchant makes the decision manually. Fraud score of 0, the funds for the transaction are captured automatically. What are the benefits of this two-phase transaction approach? Well, to better illustrate the benefits of two-phase transactions over one-phase sales, let's review this example. Let's say a merchant offers a free 7-day trial. They authorize the payment and the customer tests the service for 7 days. And after the free trial period, the customer decides to move forward with the product. At that time, the funds are captured and the transaction is complete. And if the customer decides not to move forward or the merchant decides not to complete the transaction, the merchant can refund them. If the merchant was using a one-phase transaction approach in this same example we just discussed, they would charge the customer, authorize the transaction, and capture the funds all at one time when the customer first signed up for the free trial. Then, if the charge is fraudulent or the customer issues a chargeback because they decide not to move forward with the product after the trial, the merchant must deal with the costs and the time spent on fighting the chargebacks. So now, how to save hundreds of dollars? Here's a look at the example we're providing. If the merchant has 1,000 transactions for $20 each, they have $20,000 in sales. If the transaction fee is 0.02 per transaction, the total transaction cost for $20,000 in transactions is $400. If the merchant typically sees a 1% chargeback ratio, 1,000 transactions will result in 10 chargebacks. Let's assume it costs $25 for each chargeback, so 10 chargebacks of 20 plus the cost of those chargebacks would be $450. That puts the overall cost to the merchant for 1,000 transactions at a whopping $850, not including the time, the energy, and the resources spent on disputing those chargebacks. So how do you save money with two-phase transactions? Well, as you can see, one-phase sales can cause a pretty steep loss of money for merchants. By choosing to use Shift4's authorization and capture, merchants can save quite a bit of money. This tool reduces merchants' chargebacks by about 60%, which means if we stick to the previous example of 1,000 transactions, we would only have 4 chargebacks instead of 10. This alone would save the merchant $270. Then, if the merchant takes their security one step further and implements Shift4's non-invasive 3D Secure, that chargeback count is reduced even further to just 1 chargeback. This means the cost to the merchant from the example would only be $45 for 1,000 transactions instead of $450. A savings of $405. To summarize, Shift4's authorization and capture services can improve business processes, help merchants save money, and keep a business safe and secure. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us to learn more about Shift4's two-phase card authorization and capture transaction feature. To find out more about this and other features, check out our website or contact us with your questions. Enjoy the rest of your day.